You're now listening to the Boys in the Booth podcast with your hosts, Harper Cody, Chad Melbourne, and Casey Abrams. New episodes every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Welcome to episode 105 of the podcast. Cody, Abrams, and Melbourne joining you as always. And fellas, hard to believe we are already 20% of the way through the NHL season. It's been interesting so far, and good to be back on with you guys. How's it going?
Pretty good, Harp. It doesn't feel like it's that far in for me because it seems like it takes the Devils forever to catch up in games played, and then they're always canceled because of COVID or the power goes out or weather warnings. It's like whatever we can do to make the Devils not play and Casey sit and be bored at home, we're going to do it. Pretty good weekend though. Got to see the Sens and Penguins play. Unfortunately, we missed Crosby by 1 day coming back from COVID protocol, same as Dumoulin. But it was still a great game to go to. It was 6-3 for the Sens. The building was electric, surprisingly. They actually must have sold out, except we were talking before. It seemed like Club Bell was the only seats empty. And, that's because those tickets are usually given away to people. But it was a lot of fun to watch. And very exciting in the building. Everyone was into the game and everyone stuck around right to the end. But I'll tell you, they've got to figure it out in Ottawa. They've got to move that rink, get out of Canada or do something. Two problems I found with it is it took us forever to get into the building. It was lined up down the street because they were doing COVID checking and then, checking for your tickets. And it just seemed really inefficient. I've seen other buildings be a lot quicker during the COVID times. But yeah, it was really slow to get in there. And then the other thing is getting out was impossible. And I don't mean leaving your parking spot, which is always a pain in the ass there. I mean Ubering out of there or cabbing out of there. Because here's the thing, guys. It's in Canada. Yeah. Everyone needs to cab or Uber out of there because they need to get back downtown Ottawa to continue their night on. On a Saturday night, everyone wants to go downtown and do something after these games. And that's what we were trying to do too. And it was impossible. We got canceled on 10 times by our Ubers because everybody is doing the exact same thing because it's in Canada. You're in Toronto, you leave the building, you just walk, 100 meters and you're at a bar. It's perfect, but it's just a struggle in Canada there. But that being said, a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. So just about that, dude, they need a subway line. That's the one thing. If they just had a subway line that went from Canada to downtown, that would be perfect. But that will never get built ever. I think it's more likely they move the rink somewhere downtown. We talked about that. There was the whole, what was it called? LeBreton Flats, I think it was called a couple years ago that ended up falling through, and that's where they were going to move it. So, yeah, I don't know. Everyone knows that the building is not in a good location in Canada. And we were talking earlier, before we started, the attendance at the Sens games, they're averaging around 11 and a half or a little under 12,000 this year per game. So in a roughly 18,000 capacity building, I'm sure those numbers would go way up if it was downtown. It would just make sense.
Three problems with why they're that low in their numbers. For one, team's been bad.
They stink.
That's an obvious one.
Yep.
2, it's in Canada. I'll say it again. 3, it's too expensive for a bottom of the basement team. Look at Chicago, $7. I'd be going to every single game. But $45 for 300 levels is a little too much for a basement team. I'll pay it. I'll still pay it because it's a lot of fun and it's entertaining. But when you're paying $45 and then $12.95 for a beer, it's it's not very enticing for people to leave downtown Ottawa to go out to Canada to watch the game.
Yeah. There's a lot of barriers there. Let me say, just be lucky you don't have to pay ticket prices in Toronto because they're way worse. And, even though the team isn't in the basement, it's still not worth, if you want to sit in the 100s, say $500 a ticket or something like that. So
yeah,
you can get them a bit.
Toronto's hurting you there.
Yeah, you can get them a bit cheaper if you go, if you get the tickets a half hour before the game starts or even 15 minutes, and then you can get some pretty good deals. But then it's just kind of a pain in the ass to do that. But anyways, you mentioned that you missed Crosby for the first game in Ottawa. You didn't miss much, man, other than him absolutely manhandling whoever that Washington defenseman was. That was insane. Do you guys see that?
Dude, it's been a bad season for Crosby so far. For one, only playing 2 games this far in.
Yeah.
But the first game back, he was a -3 with no points against the Devils and handed Jimmy Vesey a shorthanded goal, tape-to-tape pass to him. And it was just a bad game. And then goes on COVID protocol, gets back against Washington, and is showing his absolute frustration and just tossing that defenseman into the boards. I think it's very.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it was not a good look.
Yeah, and just to continue, and sort of changing up the subject a bit here, but this weekend, Harp came up and visited with his girlfriend, and so that was fun, and we went out and had some drinks and watched some hockey, and we got to watch the Maple Leafs beat the Sabres, and Joseph Woll earn his first NHL win in his career, so that was fun to watch, even though the Leafs looked atrocious all game. It was so sloppy and terrible, but 2 points is 2 points at the end of the day, right? And if you've got Joseph Woll in net, guys never played an NHL game, you'd like to think they'd give him, some better defense in front of him, but you know what? At least he got the win, so that was fun this weekend.
Last minute goal, and also the worst goal of the year so far.
Yeah.
I think it was 11.8 seconds remaining in regulation. We were playing drinking games with the girls, of course, with Megan Page, but still paying attention to the game, obviously. Yeah. And we knew there were going to be a lot of goals with Joseph Woll and Aaron Dell in between the pipes, respectively. And I thought for sure the game was going to overtime, and looking forward to a good finish that way. And then classic Buffalo gives up a last-minute goal, and there we have it.
Well, I knew there were going to be a lot of goals, and I took the over, and Harper were talking about this. I took over 6.5, Matthews to score, and what was the third thing? It might have been power play goal. And so anyways, everything happened except for Matthews scoring. And so that just sucked. It was only a $1 stake, but it was going to pay out $5. So, I would have been up a little bit, but anyway, didn't hit it.
One thing that Harp just reminded me of that I wanted to say about my Sens experience is I almost had to sue Eugene Melnick for damages because of the absolute geyser that was going on in my bladder waiting in that hour-long lineup to get into the game.
Jesus.
When you're drinking beer before a game and then you have to stand in line and wait for them. Also, the purse fiasco. There is a guy that almost fought one of the attendees in the lineup because he was told his wife can't come in with her purse that was big enough to carry a pack of gum and a lighter. It was absolutely ridiculous, the amount of problems going on in that line. But oh my God, I thought I had a kidney stone. It was so bad.
Oh, jeez. And, let's not take away from the fact that is a great rink. It belongs downtown Ottawa, we've mentioned.
If we could pick it up and move it over there, or just keep it out there and it's a concert hall, because that's what it's the best thing for.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, okay. And let's go into a little fantasy corner now, and then we'll get into cap or no cap. This is just going to be a quick episode, by the way, for you listeners out there. And so, good little segue into the fantasy corner. Chad, the guy who scored the game winner in the Leafs and Sabres game, Morgan Riley, you have him on your fantasy team in the Boys in the Booth Fantasy Hockey League. So just give us an update from your end of things in fantasy.
Yeah, I do have Morgan, and he was fantastic that night. I think he had 2 points, including the game-winning goal. So there you go, extra points there. Another week, another win for the multiple scoregasms. That's 4-1-0, and I'm still trying to catch the Meatheads in first place, who are the only team now who are undefeated at 5-0-0. So I beat Nate last week, the Tampa Bay Three-Peats. Pretty much only has players from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then also, he's got a couple, he's got Kopitar and a few other guys. But absolutely manhandled Nate, beat him by like 60 points, wasn't even close all week, so that was good. Other than that, like I just want to say, like, I'm pretty content with my entire team. Like, I was just looking through my roster and I'm not sure like if I want to drop anyone or trade anyone, but I've got 2 guys on IR. I've got Doughty and Pacioretty, and when they come back, I'm gonna have some tough decisions to make, because honestly I look at my team and I really just don't want to move anybody. I'm pretty attached right now, so still chasing down first place, but Luke still has me beat there at number 1. Case, how was fantasy for you this week?
Huge win, 204 to 157 against the mail order brides. Our resident mailman himself, Chunk, actually starting to set his lineups this week, but still absolutely.
Thank God.
That wasn't even fair. Also, another thing not even fair was my greasy pickup this week. I saw that Cameron dropped Mark Stone, who was on the IR. Instantly went in and claimed him off waivers. Happened to be number 1 in waivers because I picked last and haven't used my waiver pickup yet. So got Mark Stone for free. Checked the same day and it said, oh, Mark Stone skates with Vegas. And yeah, he played Saturday. So here we are, Mark Stone for free. Also want to mention that I am 3rd in total points, but 6th in the league. I'm also 3rd in points against. So just want to preface that and say that I am absolutely getting slammed with tough matchups every week, it seems. To give a little example of what's going on, Patrick Swayze, Emerson, who is 1 ahead of me at 4-1, I'm 3-2. I have 227 more points than him. That is a good week, more points than him.
Yeah.
And here I am. So I also feel very good about my team, and I'm very excited about the weeks coming.
Lots of hockey left.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go into the fantasy end of things for me, and things aren't looking too good, boys, as you guys know. And as Alan at Mansky, our good buddy, was bugging me about earlier in the group chat. And speaking of M's team, Patrick Swayze, he beat me up pretty good this past week, boys. 165 almost to about 118. So it was a rough week for me. And I feel like I've got guys on my roster. Like, if you go look at my roster, that just aren't producing for me. And Rasmus Dahlin is kind of, we scored a goal in the weekend in the game against Toronto, but he's been off to a slow start offensively again. Jamie Benn is another guy who sticks out to me for the Dallas Stars. That whole team in general can't seem to put the puck in the back of the net, and really the only defenseman and who's done anything for me so far, and who was probably my best player last week in the loss against Patrick Swayze, was Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. So I definitely need some guys to pick it up, and got another tough matchup this week against Mr. Chad and MSG. So right. Not looking forward to that, and I may need to make a couple of changes for the 1 and 4 2021 Pepsi Cup scoring champs. And
something that happened, Harp, before, I know I can hear in your voice that you're getting away from fantasy, and I want to talk about one more thing, so I'm jumping in on you, is
sure.
Something happened in our fantasy league that I have never heard of before. This morning when Alan Mansky texted us saying, Dylan, I sent you a trade, but it says that your trade cap is full. He has too many pending trades right now, because Dylan is also, that's our Dylan update of the week, still sending out a million trades. Listen to this trade he tried to send me. It was Jonathan Taves and Travis Konechny for Mark Stone and JT Miller. JT Miller almost had the same amount of points as Harper's team last week. So not a chance I'm going to be doing that one.
That is brutal. Man, so there's always one guy, right, who just sends a million trades. And like, funny enough, I actually had one of the guys in the group chat from my other fantasy group message today. He took a screenshot of him offering me a trade, and it said multiple scoregasms has too many pending trades. So it was the exact same situation, because I have a player I'm trying to get rid of. I have Getzlaff, who's currently ranked like 10th in the league or whatever, but obviously not sustainable. So I'm trying to sell high, right? So anyways, I've offered him to like 6 teams. That's the amount of trades you can have pending at one time. So I'm that guy in the other league. So I thought it was funny you brought that up. But I will say I'm sitting in second place in both leagues and first place in total points also in both leagues. So, sometimes it can work if you're a trade hound. Other times you just send dumbass trades like Dylan does. But, who knows? Maybe it'll work out for Dylan as it goes on. But
shotgun approach.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like throw everything at the wall and just see what sticks, right? See if somebody accidentally clicks accept to a trade, and then there you go.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Anyway.
Harp, actually, sorry, before we wrap up, too. Last week, Case, we threw some shade at the bottom 5 in the league to motivate some teams. So I want to actually now go to the top 5 again, and we'll alternate each week. But before I do that as well, I want to mention a quick thing. There was a name change in our fantasy league. Second last in the league is Mr. Murray, my brother-in-law, Cameron. And he changed his name to the Arizona Blackhawks. So being in the dumpster of the league, he wanted to change his name to that. So
lovely.
Wanted to mention that. Okay, in top 5 as it sits right now, the Meatheads at number 1, that's Luke. Myself at number 2, as I mentioned. Shipping and Yandling, that's Remy. He's at number 3, and he's sitting there pretty comfortably. I believe only Casey has more total points, or Casey and the Meatheads have more total points than Shipping and Yandling, so he's in a good spot. The Backest Door Bandits, that's Taylor Prosser, sitting at 4th spot, and Hat Trick Swayze in the number 5 spot. Sorry, Case, almost said your name there at the number 6. You're very close. The total points are looking good, but that's how our fantasy league is shaping up as it sits after 5 weeks.
Alrighty. Well, we'll see how it all shakes out from there. Okay, so we'll go into cap or no cap now. We've got three things for that, and that'll wrap it up. So again, just a quickie for this week.
You're now listening to Cap or No Cap right here on the Boys in the Booth podcast.
No cap, this shit bussin'.
Okay, I think that this is a question that has come up quite a bit after, of course, Jack Eichel was finally traded. But the next player to be dealt will be Phil Kessel of the Arizona Coyotes. Cap or no cap, Casey?
I'm going to say no cap because there is so much talk about who is next to be traded off Arizona. It seems like there's a lot of guys who there's 2 camps there. There's either the older guys that it's just simply not fair. These guys should be on a team that could get them a cup, maybe one last hurrah. And that's where Phil Kessel sits. And then the other one being like a Shane Gostisbehere, who is given an opportunity in Arizona and then kind of takes off and has shown he deserves to be maybe on another team, up bottom pairing or something. It's not the Gostisbehere we got used to in later years in Philadelphia. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Phil Kessel, the current Iron Man holder, or I think he's the current Iron Man.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, now.
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked to see him dish very soon. If not, he will be traded before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree. I think he moves before the trade deadline. But I'll say cap to the question. I don't know if he's going to be the next one traded in the whole league, and if that's what the question was referring to. Just playing the statistics here, the probabilities, like I think there are just so many other players in the league that might be moved first. Maybe one of Travis Dermott or Justin Holl, the 2 guys on my mind who I think might be moved before the deadline for the Maple Leafs. So I'll say cap. I don't know if he'll be the next guy traded, but I think he definitely will be before the deadline because like Casey mentioned, he's still a guy he's a little bit older, but he can still produce at a decent level and still be an effective player for a contending team. Right now, I think he has like 6 points in 15 games or something like that. So it's Arizona, though.
Who's passing to him?
That's the thing. Like, he's playing for Arizona, so like, go back to the Penguins and you'll play in their top 6 because they've got nobody healthy right now. So maybe that's a good fit for Phil Kessel at the deadline.
Yeah, and my apologies. I should have reworded the question. I should have said, like, what next big name player will be moved? And so that's Phil Kessel was the first that came to mind to me. But look, just a couple of quick things. I know that, like, there's people out there, Jeff Merrick in particular, who likes Kessel maybe going back to the Boston Bruins potentially to give them some more depth scoring. Also seen reports out there about the Golden Knights, but there's no way they're able to do that now. So anyway, just a couple of things on Phil Kessel.
Yeah, Seattle should take him because no one is scoring goals for them, and they suck. That's my Seattle shot of the week.
Other than Jared McCann, yes, they have a shit record, but they still might make the playoffs because that division, it sucks.
Yes, the Pacific. Although those two California teams, the Ducks and the Kings, they're going right now, so they have a chance.
Yeah, and Vancouver is very much not going. They're the opposite of what we thought would happen. Like, they've had a terrible start this year, so that whole division is just weird right now, and I think it'll kind of come back to normal, like, as the season goes on, because the Ducks, like, clearly aren't going to be a playoff team, I don't think, and LA, like, yeah, I can see them there, like, outside chance or whatever, but I don't know. It's tough to say. The division is so weird. It's the most, I would say it's the most unpredictable division.
Dude, I think all the divisions are a little screwed up right now. Like, look at Detroit and Buffalo in the Atlantic, and then look at the Metro. You got Pittsburgh and the Islanders in the basement, or the Central, Colorado's in the middle of the pack, and like Nashville's doing well, and Minnesota is a complete wagon. So it's like there's a lot of weirdness going on. Like Tampa Bay, another example, is slowly climbing back up to where they belong. But there's a lot of weirdness. But I think that's sample size, and it's slowly going to even out to where it should be. Like I said, I don't think Detroit can hold on to what they're doing, even though Stevie Y is running that team, so they could win the cup this year. Yeah,
really. Detroit won't continue what they're doing as good as they are. They will be very good in a few years and compete for, the playoffs as early as next year, I think. And then, after that, the sky's the limit. But they won't continue what they're doing this year. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. And that also means, Case, as you pointed out in our fantasy group, that Luke's team, the Meatheads, should probably just drop off a cliff because he is just riding the Red Wings right now with all his players. So
Larkin, Raymond, and Bertuzzi.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, you guys are quick because that kind of settles the next question I had, and it was on the Red Wings and just, and the Red Wings being a wild card team this season, cap or no cap. So you kind of already said it there that, they've got quite a few guys, kind of overproducing right now, and obviously the two young studs in Raymond and Sider, and the team is playing pretty well. But that was my next question. So anyway, just quick, do you have any more thoughts on the Red Wings? Because I think clearly you both don't think they're going to be a wild card team.
No, absolutely not. I think, like I said, that division's going to start equaling out again. Tampa Bay has played 3 less games and have 1 less point, and that team is so much better than Detroit. Same as Boston, still behind them in 3 less games. And then just the East as a whole has kind of been a little strange, looking at Pittsburgh with their illnesses and injuries, and then the Islanders being the weirdest regular season team ever. So there's a lot of different things going on there. I'd like to see the difficulty of schedule for Detroit so far. That'd be an interesting thing for me to look at. I love that stat. It's an interesting one to me, but I think there's a lot going right for Detroit, and very quickly that can be turned around, especially when Tyler Bertuzzi is not going to be able to play in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you'd have to think that gets done at some point this season, right? Like, don't you think that someone in his camp, like whether it's, family, friends, teammates, agent, like whatever, just says to him, hey man, like your stock is plummeting. Like, I know he's not in any position for a contract or whatever, but I'm just thinking, like, don't you want to help your team in every situation? And if you have to miss every game in Canada, like, I don't know. To me, it just seems like eventually it has to get done. Or maybe the NHL says, look, like if he produces a negative test, which we know they do like 3 times a week or whatever anyways, maybe he can just play in Canada. So I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's going to get done, or something has to give with that, because he's the only player in the league right now who's unvaccinated. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe the organization's kind of fine with it because it's like, let's lose and get another high draft pick because we were friggin' sick at that. Let's talk about Lucas Raymond and Seider, who are killing it lately. Yeah. And you look at those two and when they were drafted compared to, I saw the stat the other day, I don't know, NHL Breakers maybe, versus Lafreniere and Capo Caco.
Saw that one
same amount of games, Capo Caco and Lafreniere, it's an old stat now because they both scored on the weekend, had 4 points together combined, and Seider and Raymond had 24. Like, that's just drafting by Stevie Y.
I know. And Pat Verbeek and everyone in that Detroit staff. No, just absolutely incredible. And those are your 2 cornerstones for Detroit now, right? Like, you can see it. And I mean, it's been a lot of fun to watch those 2 so far. Okay, we'll finish up with this one for cap or no cap. So it's been a tough go for the Ottawa Senators so far. We kind of mentioned that off the top, and their next 3 games have been postponed due to the COVID outbreak that they have. 10 guys in total that are out due to COVID, and so their next 3 games in New Jersey, and then the 2 home games after that against Nashville and the Rangers. So that would bring us to the 20th of November, I believe. And so, tough for the Ottawa Senators. But anyway, my question to that is, cap or no cap, we will see more teams have games postponed due to this kind of thing this season. Chad, cap or no cap?
It's tough. I say it's tough because I know the NHL doesn't have a lot of time at the end of the season like they did last year to reschedule games. So I know they're going to do everything in their power to not reschedule games. Whether that means teams just playing shorthanded, or whether that means, not rescheduling a game and just simply by the end of the season going by points percentage. Like, I know they don't want to do that, but I just know that they don't have a lot of time at the end of the season before, all the fun stuff in the off season starts. And if they want to start next season on time and do a full 82 games as normal, I just don't think they have enough time. So I'll say we don't see any more rescheduling, but that's like fingers crossed, because if you've got 10 players out like Ottawa does right now, like, what are you supposed to do? You can't just play against their farm team in Belleville. Like, it's not the same. Like, I know it's a struggling team in Ottawa, but if that were, say, like, I don't know, like Florida, I don't think the NHL would allow that whole season to be completely wasted because a few of their guys have COVID. So I think they would reschedule it, but I really just don't think they want to. So I'll say that. Also, I wanted to add too that in this is just getting a little bit off topic, but because you brought up the Senators, I have Josh Norris in one of my fantasy leagues, and I offered him, like, I put him on the trade block, and I am getting sewered right now in our group chat because people are like, he doesn't even play this week, and I'm shopping him. Like, so people think I did that on purpose, but I totally forgot that they're missing these 3 games this week. But anyways, wanted to say that. Overall, I don't think they'll reschedule any more games, but again, that's fingers crossed, because at a certain point you kind of have to. Case?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say cap as well for similar reasons. The NHL, they're going to do absolutely everything to not postpone because they're dealing with a way shortened season during the Olympic break there. Right. So they have until I think it's January 10th to opt out of the Olympics, and that's the only reason they're going to be doing that is if they have to postpone too many more games. So I think, again, they're going to do as much as they can to not be in that situation, because it's so important for the game of hockey to have those players at the Olympics. And that everyone wants to see that, although they do need to worry about the health and safety of the players first and foremost. What I will say is, even though Ottawa is a basement team and all of their players are sick, they still won 6-3 on the weekend. And I know the Penguins have some key players missing. They only had 4 injuries going into that game, but they were like Crosby, Peterson, Malkin, and Dumoulin, all important guys. Yeah. That being said, the Senators were playing everybody from the AHL. They're playing Bernard Docker, Lassie Thompson, Sokolov, Hetherington, Connor Kelly, a bunch of these guys. But I'll tell you what, that was an entertaining game to watch. And you want to know why? Because all of those guys are playing for their careers. They're playing to stay alive. It's the difference right now for them making $800,000, broken out 365 days per day that they're up at the team, $800,000 and $120,000. That's the difference. So they're playing their hearts out right now. And honestly, I loved it. They're all playing so well, and they're firing at all cylinders, and it was really fun to watch. So frankly, I think it's fine if you have 8 players sick. Just call up the guys and give them a chance. It's the best thing for those guys. And you get to see a lot of new faces and see what they can do. And maybe you have a player break out. Like Lassie Thompson's played great since he's been up. So I don't know. I kind of find it interesting. Sure, it sucks if it's your team, but it's really important for these guys to get a chance. And we saw that a lot last year. A lot of players given a few games here and there because they needed to get the call ups in. But I think it's interesting. I think it's fun to watch. And I don't think that, well, I hope that there's not too many more postponements, but I'm sure if there is, it's going to be when they're playing against the Devils.
Yeah. No, in case that's a great point that you made. I do that is the one thing I love about this is that it's a great opportunity for a lot of guys. And I should note as well that it could have been a great opportunity for Erik Brannstrom, but it looks like he's going to be done for the season with an injury. So that is tough for Erik Brannstrom and the Ottawa Senators. Also, good news for the San Jose Sharks. All 7 guys that were in COVID protocol are now back with the team. And we hope for the same for the 10 guys that are out for the Ottawa Senators. And again, hope that more games don't get postponed. So that does it for this quickie episode. Thanks so much for listening. And in the future, if you have anything that you would like us to ask in Cap or No Cap, feel free to hit us up on our Instagram at Boys in the Booth. Thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
This has been another episode of Boys in the Booth with Harper Cody, Chad Melbourne, and Casey Abrams. New episodes every Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Connect with the Boys in the Booth on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Boys in the Booth. Visit boysinthebooth.com for show details, and don't forget, you can become a patron of the podcast for just $1 a month at www.patreon.com/boysinthebooth.